Welcome to Misbehaving in Maine. I'm Dan Williams and I am sick. You can hear it in my voice. Well, we'll try to do this anyway. The following story is called Love Me or Die Trying. And now, here goes everything. Remember your third grade desk? The little station you owned every day, a ship with a crew of one, and every member of that crew was captain? You didn't care that the desk belonged to others before you, some of whom scarred its body with messages. Their names, of course, their most beloved profanities, of course, and peace signs, pentagrams, and that famous S-shaped thing, the cool S, symbols which are the beginning of the end of adventurous doodling. They are prefab forms that yawn before the imagination. It pours itself into them, the wee molds. Graves. Once doodlers dig these graves, they're in danger of never leaving them. They cool-s their way to the big mold, where the mortal doodle that is the body unwinds into all the little lines that make up a drawing. But in this case, I beg your pardon, we're talking about, what else? Worms. My desk was the best kind, the flip top. It had 4 legs and a wooden lid, which opened like a trap door, God bless it. Beneath the door, a metal basin, one big enough to bathe 5 gremlins or to drown one big rat. The other lovely part of the flip top was the chair. It lived independently from the desk. With some desks, everything's connected. The chair and the desk are one flesh. That's because children carved them from solid blocks of ironwood. Believe it or not, this was the result of reform. Their grandparents carved desks out of blocks of coal before lighting them on fire and sitting in the fire. It was the only way to stay warm enough to survive education in the everlasting winter of the old-timey. I loved my chair's freedom. It allowed me to tip back in my chair. Chair tipping is the child's I think, therefore I am. You, child, I say, what makes you so sure you exist? I sit in my chair, and in my chair I tip. It's a thrill to exist, to tip. It's the thrill of being told repeatedly, every 10 seconds, by a world that is super aware of you, stop tipping in your chair. It's the thrill of the tale of that dead kid who tipped back so far he saw another dimension. He did this by splitting his head open on the floor and going to dimension next, the afterlife, where God himself tips in his throne and loves all adventurers. Another fine feature of the flip top, the surface area. Plenty of room for the punishment of put your heads down, a beautiful chastisement, as lovely as let us pray in church on those dawn-drunk Sundays when your body belongs to the devil and the devil wants your sleep even more than your screams. Again, the lovely surface area of the flip-top desk. Put your heads down. This closes the door on the ugly world of state-enforced, state-run education, and opens the door on the twilight land of daydreams. Yes, the desk's surface has room for this, and more. Somehow there's still room for books and notebooks, and even room for your fingers to braille over the 3D tattoos in the wood, the Franks, the Get Bent Heralds, the Berthas of yesteryear, which helps you enjoy the deepest gash in the desk's surface, a defacement made by a mythic bad kid, an inch-deep gash. This savagely blue wound was made when Kid Evil raced his pen back and forth in one little spot for an entire year, trying to dig a tunnel to the darkness within. If he'd made it through, he could have put his lips to the hole and breathed in the desk's darkness, turning the desk into a pipe of midnight. Or, at the very least, if he'd cut through, the desk would have become a big whistle to play, or a way to hear the ocean. Put your heads down. Kid Evil does it, his ear to the little doorway. I know where the ocean is. It's in my desk, and it is mine. Or, at the very, very least, cutting through would have proven the skin of the man may be thick, but it isn't infinite. Never give up. children. Keep racing the pen back and forth till you're free. Anyway, lots of room on that desk of mine. So much that one day I took my binder, opened it, and stood it up at the front right corner of my desk, making a two-sided wall. This created a fascinating little region of relative privacy. I could put a hand in the binder's corner and concentrate until the hand grew a middle finger, a finger aiming at the teacher like a tree branch aims at tyrannical suns. Only the students behind me and to the left could see and tattle. But I am me, friend to all the peoples. No one tattled. My friends, I'd created a space of freedom. At school, a little corner of summertime right on my desk. I slowly gathered wealth from my backpack and bid it to colonize my summer. Matchbox cars, army men, finger puppets, and the little pencils we weren't allowed to make, the kind made by sharpening a pencil within an inch of its life and less, all the way down to the metal. Whole countries of my soul were dedicated to my delight over the magic that was the illegally little pencil. So I had my desk, my lovely lair, where I lived to tip my chair and tipped to live, where I read the hieroglyphics of long-dead kids. There I loved my wall, my corner of privacy, my contraband. What about the teacher? Didn't she care? And the other students, why weren't they putting up binder walls too? And though they loved and feared me, there's a limit. They should have been going envy mad and trying to bring me down. Why weren't they? Let me explain. No, I can't explain, but I'll do my best. Our teacher, Mrs. Matthews, wore nylon tracksuits. Sorry, this doesn't explain anything, and all by itself it's hard to explain. She wore all tracksuits all the time, but why? She didn't teach gym. Our school didn't have tracks. It didn't even have ground you could walk on in the spring because the whole world was a swamp. So why the tracksuits? After all, they seemed to benefit us way more than her. We always knew where she was. The hiss and swish of all her movements turned Mrs. Matthews into the sound of wind walking. A proverb of those days. When the wind is inside, there's a Matthews nearby. The sound of her gave you all the time in the world to stow your bubblicious wad, Nickelodeon slime, and knives. But what about your binder, the one standing tall on your desk and giving you a level of privacy dangerous for children? That, for some reason, was okay. Again, I can't explain why Mrs. Matthews didn't tear down my wall or why no one copied or betrayed me, but I can tell you what I did next. Slowly and with great care, I opened a second binder and stood it up at the front left corner of my desk. The front walls of the two binders didn't touch. A 3-inch gap separated them. This made it so that even if I ducked my head down behind the walls, I could still see Mrs. Matthews. I had to see her using one eye at a time, making her two-dimensional and able to slip through a seam between the floorboards, but at least I would see it happen. Much of my desk was a blind spot now. The business I conducted there could only be known by those sitting in a cone of vision directly behind me. And if the children of the cone loved or hated what I was up to, they continued to give no sign. Impossibly, wonderfully, and a little eerily, nothing happened. 2 walls made room for more cars, soldiers, a full squadron, enough finger puppets for 100 middle fingers, and a number of little pencils that should have bought me an expulsion. Mrs. Matthews said nothing. My classmates said nothing. I'd grown a fat garden of summertime with impunity, a word I didn't know for 20 years and wouldn't dare to use for 30, but I felt that word. I lived it. It was a feeling and a living that made me ask, am I invisible? Do I exist? There's only one way to find out. I tipped in my chair. I tipped back far and farther, up to the brink of the next dimension. I could hear adventure heaven right behind me. It waded through a door in the floor. The key was the shapely and crackable back of my head. With one boom, a boom worth more than an entire year of Kid Evil's tunneling, I would turn the entire room into a midnight pipe stuffed with nightmare. I'd help the room become a whistle, too, one that could only be played by screaming children. A fine sound to accompany my spirit as it poured through the floor door with the sighing sound of the sea, the sound of freedom. Sadly, no dice. Mrs. Matthews didn't notice. And even though I could have done it, dying was no good. A dead kid can't notice if he's noticed or not. To be fair to Matthews, though, she couldn't notice. The binder wall obstructed her vision of my tipping. I am invisible. I don't exist. Am I a ghost? As sometimes happens, there was an unstructured moment in the class that day. I used this moment to casually make my way over to the classroom's globe. Then, with immeasurable grace and sneakability, I smuggled the globe back to my desk. I set it up behind binder number 1. Then I waited. When class got structured again and Mrs. Matthews started teaching, she took it to the next level of crazy. She said nothing. If she saw what looked like the earth rising from behind the walls of my desk, because that's what it was, I couldn't tell. Didn't she care? No, she allowed it. Stunned, I made use of the globe. To distract myself from my confusion, I played the prophetic game of spin and point, which tells you which country America is going to blow up next. When that got old because my finger kept landing on America, I was ready to try something else. I had a jump rope in my backpack. I always had a length of rope nearby because I never knew when I'd be seized by Indiana Jones fever. I retrieved the jump rope. Did I stand on my desk beside my globe and jump rope my way back to life? I wish I'd thought of it. But my plan was simpler, craftier. Like a boa constrictor who's planning to eat a desk, chair, and boy, the rope in my hands wound its way round and round the legs of the desk and chair and around me, tying the chair to the desk and the Dan to the chair. My knot game wasn't good, but my determination game was gold. Can't tie a knot? Tie a lot. And I did. This all eliminated the possibility of chair tipping, but it gave me something else, a cozy little cabin, one with cool controls. When I pulled the handles of the jump rope, they tightened the unity of boy, chair, and desk. I was now a boy in a cockpit, a perfect place for dangerous missions and daring exploits, loop-the-loops and barrel rolls, if it came to that. Had you tossed us all into the sky, the other kids would have been like their desks and chairs, wild debris. Not me. I'm safe and sound in my flying machine, and never lost. I have my map. I spin and point. Let's go, fighter desk. Fly me to the greatest mystery of all, the horizon. Let's see what's beyond it, and beyond, and beyond. It's better in the beyond than here, after all, the place where I don't matter, where I am a ghost. Who but a ghost could mummify himself in jump rope mid-class and raise no alarm? I feel what's happening. Your belief in this story is fading. In your eyes, the boy with the binder walls and globe, the boy bound to his desk by a jump rope, a boy unseen by the teacher, unbetrayed by his colleagues, it's all becoming unreal. The boy is disappearing. This isn't your fault. The story is hard to believe, but you're not faultless. Your increasing disbelief is speeding the boy's transformation into a ghost, making him desperate. If he doesn't do something, and quickly, the curse of invisibility might follow him for 34 years, all the way up to right now. And that's a very long time to go unnoticed, especially for someone with a blind spot allergy. They kill him, these blind spots. So, thanks to you, I reached with desperation into my backpack and drew out my binoculars. I could have drawn out a giraffe. It wouldn't have mattered. Nothing matters. I am dead. I decided if I wasn't going to be seen, I would see. I would see very well. I leaned down, put my binoculars to my eyes, aimed one lens through the 3-inch loophole between the binders, and I watched Mrs. Matthews. Teachers are gigantic, all on their own, but with the help of magnification, they are Mount Rushmore. Mrs. Matthews' face became my entire universe. There was nothing left in all existence but the part of her designed to notice things sitting not 15 feet away, things so unlike other things and therefore profoundly noticeable, things that ought to stand out like tornadoes because they are a vortex of accumulated junk in the dead center of the classroom that was your responsibility, Mrs. Matthews. I followed her face as well as I could. When her little side-to-side movements vanished her from my vision, I hurried to find her again. And one of the times when I found her again, I got a shock. That mountain of a face of hers was aimed directly my way. More than that, her eyes were too. All the me-detecting apparatus of her whole head was focused on me in a heavy burning beam of awareness. And annoyance. Who cares? I wouldn't have cared if it was awareness and murderousness. She was seeing me. Her mouth, which had been saying something, stopped saying it, but it remained open. Her eyes, focused on me for once, at last, rolled in their sockets. They rolled so hard, the centrifugal force of their rolling rolled her head, too, a roll slow enough for me to track it with my binoculars. I saw the whole gorgeous thing, that face, a two-dimensional plane with enough room on it to hold the breadth and length and depth and height of my most desperate wish, the dream behind all dreams. To be. Then I heard a beautiful thing. Mrs. Matthews said, "Dan." "Yes, Mrs. Matthews?" I said, thrilled to be a living boy again. It was a thrill that knocked everything else out of my head, all the questions. Why couldn't she see me? How did I get away with all that crap? Why didn't anyone copy me or tell on me? What if it happens again? "That's enough," said Mrs. Matthews, and her say was accompanied by an educated wave of her hand. One so educated it expressed many things, things like binders, the globe, a jump rope, binoculars, and contraband galore. With my warm and very detectable hands, I bagged my binoculars, stashed my troops of toys and ruined pencils, untied myself, returned the globe to the round, dustless footprint where it lived, closed my binders, and then I sat there, in the bull's eye of the classroom, so fully exposed and so far from summertime once again, you would have thought the weight of it all would have killed me. Nope. Toys aren't toys. Freedom's not freedom. And not even summer is summer if you're dead. I ran my fingers over the deep blue gash in my desk, the little dead-end road to freedom made by the ones who came before, and now are gone, invisible. Ghosts. I tipped back in my chair, way back, and for a moment I worried. What if I vanish again? But I didn't need to worry. In a blink, I basked once more in the warmth of Mrs. Matthews' annoyance. "Stop tipping in your chair," she said, looking right at me, my name where it should be, on the tip of her tongue, an irritant, for it identifies an irritant who is very much alive. I brought my chair down, 4 legs to the floor, grounded, connected so heavily to the big spinning world. Then I tipped back again, and I waited, almost completely convinced now that I was still alive. This has been Misbehaving in Maine, the sick edition. We'll see you next time. And remember, you may be wicked. You may be sick as death. You may be weird, but you're not alone.